Hey everybody, welcome back to Soundwell Guitar. My name is Brandon, and today we're going to be finishing our whole chart here, where we're going to fill in the rest of the C major progression, we're going to add a new minor progression, and I'm going to talk a little bit about another time signature known as 3/4 time. Okay, let's get started. We've got a lot of work here. I've got the window open, so if you hear some geese or whatever, that's just the river right outside the window. It's a really nice day today. I'm excited that it's spring. Anyway, so I said there's going to be a new minor progression, and we'll get started with that. All of our progressions so far have gone with this pattern of two chords, either major or minor, and then a 7 chord, except for the C progression. So we're going to fill in the middle of that. But we're going to get to this minor one, which is going to be an A minor progression. And then we're going to do the same sequence of 3. There'll be 2 minor chords and then that 7 chord at the end. Now, we already know the A minor chord. We're just going to reuse it, but it sort of falls into a different place, or sort of has a different personality, you might say, because we're going to start with that chord. If you don't remember, it was on our last lesson about minor chords, and we did the A minor chord. It was the 2nd finger, 3rd finger, and 1st finger. That is the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret, 4th string, 3rd finger, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 1st finger, 2nd string, 1st fret. And we strum from the 5th string down to the 1st. The next chord in our A minor progression is going to be D minor. D as in dog. Now this one is a lot like the D7 in that we are going to strum from strings 4 to 1. It's got the same bass there as the D7 did. You see, when you put those notes in the top, it's a chord with a very different personality than that D7. It's got that little M after it, indicating that minor sound. To play this chord, we'll put our 2nd finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Now this is going to seem kind of weird, but I recommend putting the 4th finger on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, and then your 1st finger on the 1st fret, 1st string. Now I want to talk a little bit about that 4th finger. You'll a lot of times see other people use the 3rd finger. Charts might even indicate that 3rd finger. It's not wrong. You can do that. Obviously you can hear it. It sounds pretty much the same. But again, the 4th finger tends to be a little bit more balanced. Watch how my hand keeps the fingers parallel with the frets when I use the 4th finger. When I use the 3, kind of a little bit of a stretch and sort of rotates my hand. So it's just a little more comfortable with the 4th. You can experiment and find out which one's better for you. Again, I recommend the 4th finger. And here's another good reason why the 4th finger is a good one to go with when you're using this progression. Our next chord is E7. Now watch when I switch to it, my 4th finger just stays. Right where it needed to be. As opposed to if I used my 3, it was a little trickier. So I'll show you that again. D minor, and there's going to be our next chord. This one's called E7. Now that's got all 4 fingers on it, doesn't it? What we're going to want to do with this chord is put our 2 on the 2nd fret, 5th string, and our 3 on the 2nd fret, 4th string, which looks like the E minor chord, doesn't it? Put your 1st finger on the 3rd string, 1st fret, and then your 4th finger comes down on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. So there it is, E7. a 6-string chord. It's a big one. We're going to play that whole progression now. A minor, D minor, E7, back to the A minor. Our next chord that we're going to do today is going to fill in a gap. You might not have known it was there. We had our C chord and our G7. I guess when I say a gap, technically you could build an entire song off of just those 2 chords. In fact, if I remember right, I think those were the first 2 chords that I ever learned. I was growing up in the 80s and I wanted to learn to play guitar. And what inspired me to play guitar was things like Iron Maiden and Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, people like that. And I didn't have access to that music. And what I did have access to was my dad played a little guitar, and he had some guitar books lying around. And he had a lot of Hank Williams Sr. I have a lot of respect for that artist now. I think as a kid living in the 80s at age 13, I really didn't care much for country or appreciate, you know, how cool like somebody like Hank Williams Sr. was. But nonetheless, it was all I had. And so he had a song in this book, and it was called Jambalaya. And it was just 2 chords, and it was the C and the G7. And I remember practicing those back and forth, just like that. I just did it over and over all afternoon because I was determined to get these chords. So anyway, back to that progression, though. I've got some fond memories of it, and it worked for Hank to do that one tune. It was only 2 chords. But again, like I mentioned, like a gap, if we were to try to do maybe a longer, more fuller progression, we could add this chord in there, which is known as the F chord. Okay, so the F chord, I did not put that in the progression with the C and the G7 right away because, well, I didn't want you to give up. The F chord is tough, okay? I promise you this, the F in the chord does not stand for fun. Probably more frustrating or fear, I don't know. But, well, let's not be afraid of it. We're going to try to do it today. You're going to have to be really patient with this chord, though. When I fret this chord, I am fretting my 3rd finger on the 4th string, 3rd fret, my 2nd finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, and then my 1st finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret. Now there's the base of the chord. If we just strum strings 4, 3, and 2, we have a little F chord in its own right. All right, that's not so tough. Here's where it gets tough. We need to take our 1st finger and have it in 2 places at once. You see what I just did there? I have got my 1st finger pressed down on 2 strings at one time. Now, if you have little dainty baby fingers like I do, the tip of the finger is not gonna cut it. I can't push down 2 strings at one time with the tip of my finger. I had to turn it on its side. See, now I'm pushing them both down. With the wrist out like this, popping my fingers out straight, this allows me to do this and get that top note ringing out. That is the part that is really tough to do for some people when they're first starting out. I recommend not putting the bar down first and then trying to put down the 3 and the 2. That usually doesn't work out. I recommend that you put the 3rd finger down, then the 2nd, right on their tips there. Make sure you got a nice clear sound with those. And then bring your 1st finger in. You might be popping your elbow out a little bit, getting that flat on there, and get that top note in there. Now, it might at first sound kind of like this. And you'll work on it. You'll adjust your posture, whatever you have to do and get that finger in there. Okay, I'm getting excited here. Our chart is really filling up. We have now got 4 progressions: a C major progression, an A minor progression, G major progression, E minor progression. That's 4 progressions, each one containing 3 chords. So we've come a long way since the first lesson. And there is so much that you can do with these progressions, these chords, and the combinations that we've done. You'd be surprised. You go and you Google like easy songs to play on the guitar, and you are going to find these progressions a lot. So when you have these mastered, you have so much music that you can play, so many songs. Get excited about how far you've come and what you've learned over here, because this is a lot. You're on your way to being a pro. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the time signatures. Now, all of our practice so far with these chords has involved practicing with a 4 count. Now, that is the most common count that people use in music. In fact, it's so common that the 4/4 count is often referred to as common time, and even written in the music with a C rather than the 4/4, the C representing the word common, meaning common time. Well, we get to our next most common time signature, and that is 3/4. Now, this whole time, I think when I've been writing down these time signatures, I've always written just the 4, and I didn't write a number underneath. I was just trying to keep it simple, but it's really technically written with another number underneath. And for now, that bottom number is going to always be 4, and you shouldn't worry about it. It's not really affecting anything that we're doing. It's the top number we're focusing on. In future lessons, we'll talk about how that bottom number can drastically change your rhythm, but we're not trying to do anything super fancy like that right now. So now we're going to start using the proper term like I've been using on this lesson. I've said 4/4 timing, 3/4 timing. There's always that bottom number that's 4. We're ignoring that. We're focused on the top. So again, the top number, that 4, that's the number that I've written in all the exercises when we're strumming in 4s in each measure. The 3 on the top of our count now means we just strum in patterns of 3. So here's what it sounds like. And I'll just use our new progression, A minor. I'm going to do that in the 3/4 count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The 3/4 count is oftentimes referred to as waltz time, which is a type of dance. It's fairly old, but it gets that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 kind of sound, whereas the 4/4 doesn't have that. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's naturally this sort of emphasis on specific beats. We tend to always emphasize the first beat of our measure. So in 4/4, we'd be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, that comes more naturally. It's not something that you want to focus on. Focus on the counting, and then just notice how you gravitate towards that first beat and accent it. And then you've got 2, 3, and 4 that follows before that next accent. And so here's where the 3/4 tends to be very different from the 4/4. If we're still doing that same accenting, and we will naturally, on that first beat, we only get 2 strums after that, creating this 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, well, I hope you've had as much fun watching this video as I have making it. I really appreciate all the viewers and the people that have subscribed. It means a lot when I see I get new subscribers and people that give me thumbs up on the videos. I really hope people are benefiting from this material. I've been teaching for 20 years. I love it. There's never a dull moment. This is the beginning of my lessons program, and I've turned out many great guitar players. So it should benefit you too. I really hope you've been having fun. I'll see you next time.